let's get started with the news because this morning, first of all, before we get started with this morning's news, I'd like to thank my wife who took over watching the kids' duty.
What?
She had to do the schoolwork. So basically, she lost most of her work morning and now has to work at night tonight. While I got to watch with you, Alex, and Abby this amazing Xbox adventure as they show. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's right. No, you're right.
Microsoft build this as, hey, see some Valhalla gameplay, see some new gameplay from the Xbox Series X. I think that was at the least a gross misstatement, and at the worst, that was just outright lie. That did
not there
at
all.
I am very disappointed in the messaging.
Yes.
That was preceded this. Yes.
That was not cool. That was kind of not cool. They could have just not said that, and it would have been fine. Like, I don't think people would have been as bummed out, because I was actually very much looking forward to seeing somebody play Microsoft or Ubisoft's next Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I did not see that today. So we watched the Xbox event this morning at, what time was it for us? 10:30-ish, I think. 10:30-ish.
I think it started at 11.
11. They showed some stuff. Alex, what did they show?
So they said right out of the gate, this is going to be all third party. It is not. There's no Halo here. There are no other Microsoft Game Studios games here. That stuff will be coming, I guess, in like July, is what they're saying. So this was third party, and a lot of that third party was stuff that I would say definitely did not fall in the realm of shit that came from major publishers. It was a lot of stuff that a lot of these were games that were announced or were known of in one way or another. Some were not, but others had been kicking around, like, early Steam trailers and whatnot for a while. So they showed, a mix of things. Like, there's the game that apparently looks like H.R. Geiger fucked it. Scorn.
Scorn.
That game was icky.
Very icky, and we still don't know what the fuck it is, other than it's a horror game, and boy, we love H.R. Geiger.
None of it made sense. What was it? There was fully just a dick in a wall. It was just a dick in a wall. There was like no pretense that it was something else. There were two like alien statue things fully going to town on each other.
But here's the thing, the dick wall is maybe the thing that actually stood out most, which sort of tells you where this shit was going. There was a look at, what was it, Bright something? Bright, it's that
Bright
game
Memory Infinite.
That's the one, which is, there's an episode of Bright Memory out on Steam. It was made by more or less one person, and I'm pretty sure that game got at least accused of stealing assets at one point. I don't know if they're still doing that or not.
Fair. I think we have an unfinished or something, or a quick look on the site if you want to check that out.
Yeah. Featuring Dan.
There's a new game from Bloober Team, The Medium, which is a horror game set in Poland. There was the new Dirt 5 from Codemasters. I'm trying to think, like, there was another one, Chorus, which I don't really know what that game is exactly. There was a look at Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which definitely had a different tone and look than I was expecting, but I don't actually know what I was expecting.
Well, again, they weren't really showing. They may have showed stuff that was in game scenes, but they did not show gameplay, and that's the stuff.
Not much.
Or I don't show me. I don't know. Maybe
it looked like
maybe
there was
Chorus had some gameplay, but.
I think Vampire, there were a couple of clips in there that looked like there was like some parkour-y stuff that looked like it could have been in game. But yeah, like a lot of it was just like, here's some very story / atmosphere heavy trailers, with the exception of like Dirt, which is, hey, check out these cars.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we have to, and if you're writing headlines for your news site, we have to have a distinction between this is in-game and this is gameplay, because I think that is extremely misleading for people. I've already clicked this morning through about 3 articles that say, check out all the gameplay from the thing, and their in-game cutscenes or in-engine cutscene is not gameplay, right? Am I wrong?
These are not demos.
No, I don't understand why we have to like go back into this infuriating sort of like deception thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is the thing. I mean, personally, I hold grudges with stuff like this. I mean, there's obviously like one glaring example from E3's past of like a thing like this happening, but it is infuriating to me that like because of those disclaimers that then there's like this fallout of like having to do damage control of like, oh well no, this is what we expect it to look like. I just the deliberate, and it is deliberate, the deliberate like means to confuse and sort of deceive is, it's just what
silly.
Are we doing?
It's silly and it's completely avoidable. People are smart enough to get the, all you have to do is just say check out some new games, right? And then you just don't use that word gameplay. And the biggest offender there, Alex, being the Assassin's Creed big kind of lead up to this gameplay reveal.
It's unbelievable.
That wound up being a cut together stitch of, again, in probably in engine. I think they say in engine scenes, but it's all, none of it's like in third person. None of it looks like somebody's controlling. Maybe they are, but it doesn't look like it. They all look like they're in engine cutscenes.
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple of shots in it where, like, it might be behind the character's back while he's walking to something or doing something, but it's not like there's like, it's not a mission. They're not showing like moment to moment stuff happening in that game. It is a series of cuts. It is a 1.5-minute trailer that is not radically different. Right? It's radically different in that it's a lot less useful and informative than that first thing they put out the week before. And, I'm not going to throw all of this at Microsoft. It feels like Ubisoft, either they didn't deliver something or someone at Ubisoft decided to build this as gameplay and they just had to go with it. Because literally the press release I got in my inbox right after that thing was over was like, check out this Assassin's Creed Valhalla first look at gameplay trailer. And it's like, Microsoft's not telling you to say that. You're saying that. And that's not right. This isn't right.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
There shouldn't be confusion with those words. I guess what bums me out and why kind of sticks in my craw a little bit is like I really did want to see what the gameplay is going to be in Valhalla as someone who is is assuming this is going to be like Origins and didn't love Origins gameplay necessarily in the Assassin's Creed milieu, right? Like Origins is fine, but as far as my Assassin's Creed games go, curious to see what the action bent is going to be, which I assume is going to be very action focused for this thing. But I just wanted to see that. I kind of want to see how they were going to handle weapons and upgrades and loot and all of that stuff and just how it plays. So aside from that, I think we're in it now, right? The car is on the road, the train is on the tracks. We're barreling down to we talked about this a little bit in our stream if you want to go watch that. The release date of November for this console. So here we go.
Maybe even October. Who knows?
We're trying to get software going. Jeff Gerstmann, when we were talking in the stream, said that they've been out there. I hadn't heard this, but said that Microsoft has been out there kind of saying, we're going to hit our launch, our delivery dates this year. So let's get this stuff going. And then Microsoft explicitly in this said, hey, tune back in July for first party stuff and Microsoft Game Studios. And that's where we'll probably see the Halo stuff. So, I thought underwhelming. Not to talk, poo poo. Sorry, guys. About the third party stuff that's going on. I just, I don't know. How do I phrase this? It's stuff looks good. Games look good now. Games look very good. Pushing pixels. Stuff looks very good. I'm not sure what is going to get me to be salivating for a new console. Some of the features they have said in previous things have me very excited about a new console. Some of the multiple suspend points and the way the system's going to run. I think just the good-looking trailers, and even if they're in-engine stuff, is not getting me that excited for the console. Especially,
we talked about we talked about this last week, right? We were saying, hey, wouldn't it be great to like see something other than trailers and shiny graphics, or at least maybe that's coming, right? Because they're planning on doing these 2020 things every month, I think,
except for next month apparently.
With the next one being the big July,
right? So and they seemed like they were leaning into this whole like smart delivery thing, which I think is just a needless term.
What do you want, like cross platform? What do you want to like that's already used? What do you want to say? Cross gen?
No,
it's just coming up with a term for a thing that basically is them hedging that a lot of people are not going to buy this hardware right out of the gate.
Yeah,
I think it's a great thing, though. I think that it's a very positive thing. Yeah,
it is, but
it's also not a selling point. I mean, I guess maybe it is, but it's just like it's literally them saying, "We know you're not going to buy our console right away, so don't worry, you're not fucked when you buy it later."
Yeah. For them, it is most certainly a selling point. It is without a doubt. I think there probably is value in sort of just putting it out there from the get-go, like, hey, no matter when you get these games, you're not going to have to buy them again. Like that, to me, their value is there where you don't have to buy games cross-generationally again, right? Like, okay, fantastic. But also in 2020, forgive me for assuming that should just be a thing, especially if I'm using the same platform universe. Right, yeah. Exactly. So I don't know. I think that term getting thrown around so much, like, oh, this is a smart delivery game, you guys. Like, okay.
Yeah.
They're putting way more stock into it. And again, like, I understand why it is good. I understand the peace of mind and just like the quality of life thing that it's going to do for people. But there's nothing stopping anyone else from doing this as well. Not like,
you're right. They should.
It's not like an Xbox invention. So I think we need to maybe tread a little lightlier when we come talking about this thing as like a major bullet point in what we're seeing.
Well, I think the thing I would point out, I'm with you. Like the marketing around it is kind of silly. I mean, I don't know.
Relax.
I don't know all the specifics about the actual intelligence of the delivery on the assets you get on the Xbox One versus the assets you get on the Series X in terms of how smart it is. But it is a smart thing for Microsoft to go out and say what I suspect to publishers and say either be exclusive for us because we'll be able to be on the Microsoft platform on Xbox One with the install base already. Or be not exclusive but timed exclusive because your game will be able to be bought from these people who already own an Xbox One, not just people who are potentially going to buy a Series X. So I think as game development gets more expensive, it's smart for the developers, it's smart for the publishers, and it's great for me who might be like, hey, I don't know about availability of the Series X come October, November, and maybe it'll be hard to get one. Or B, maybe I'm not totally sold yet, but I do want to play these games. This is great, and I would love to see what it looks like better on the system. So
right, and I guess from their point of view, if they could somehow ease the discomfort of like shoehorning into merging into a new console generation by having this be a thing, right? Where you're like, oh, I don't want to miss out on this. I don't want to. Okay. I just think smart delivery is such an overstated thing of what it really is, but that's fine. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like you're adding this other, little box to tick, right? In like, is it enhanced? Is it this? Is it that? And now for me, look, there's people who are going to say, "Oh, that game's not smart delivery." Oh, well, fuck that.
Well, I mean, we do have this other thing here about EA being like, nah, we're not all.
Yeah, they said Madden. They're like, Madden's not going to be that, but we'll give it to you for free. And now everyone's back to being frustrated and confused again. So, what are we doing?
So, EA,
is there a more modern EA move than this? Honestly, like, my God.
So EA went out and said, hey, we're not going to do this for Madden, but you will get, if you buy it before, December, the end of December? Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Then you'll get a free upgrade for the console stuff, or the next console. So,
what's this, like, really, like, fucking layup toss, like, real nice, cool move that could get people on our side to just, just to support this? Let's not do that. That we're EA. We're going to just not do this thing that seemingly any sane publisher would just be like, yeah, sure, why not?
I mean, sports games don't age well. Whatever, I don't know. It doesn't seem cool.
So
Madden doesn't age well like a month after it comes out at this point. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like, obviously, the strategy from Sony so far has been a bit bewildering. And now this is, where it's like, I don't think they are as competitive as maybe they were 4 years ago, right? In terms of like what exactly they're going for, because it seems like now Microsoft is saying, hey, as long as you play this on Windows or Xbox, we win, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. So whereas Sony has to basically worry about, we just need you to play this on our console. Right. Like, well, I find that emerging, sort of, the dichotomy of that competition. I think that's much more interesting than, what we're kind of being presented with from the get-go.
Well, on top of that, Microsoft has very much gone all in on we exist as a service. We exist, Game Pass, like everything every move they have made in recent years seems geared toward billing themselves as a service that you subscribe to. This is where you get your games. This is how you play your games. The ecosystem matters, but at the same time, the main thing they want is for you is to get those, those rebills, those annual fees.
Yeah.
And Sony hasn't really developed that at the same level. Like, they've had things like PlayStation Now and all that stuff, but they haven't really fomented themselves as a games as service, provider the way that maybe Microsoft seems to have gone all in on. And I think that's kind of showing a little bit in the approach here. Like, Sony seems very into the nitty gritty of the hardware that they are making and trying to figure out how to explain that to people in a way that isn't just Mark Cerny staring at charts and not getting there yet. Whereas Microsoft's just like, yep, I don't know, the hardware's good. Here's these games. Granted, they're maybe not the games you really want to see right now, but here's these games. We're just doing more games. Here's more games. Red Dead on Game Pass now. Get it.
Yeah, I mean, the money's coming from a lot of the money comes from DLC purchases on a platform and cosmetic goods on a platform, and so it doesn't matter. You give the game away for free as long as you're playing it on the platform, so people can spend Fortnite bucks, but through the Microsoft Store or wherever it is. It's Microsoft gets it. I think Sony gets it as well. I think we'll see. Microsoft as a service, they seem to be really pushing that. You're right. And Game Pass has been a fantastic thing for people who like playing video games. I think in that department, Sony has a lot of catching up to do. It seems like spec-wise, on the horsepower of the console, Microsoft, on paper, looks like they have a very, not a lead, but a very powerful machine. And I think there's more to be said about what Sony's doing. Sony kind of gets lost in the mud a little bit on some of the what the specs are here and how mapping your ear is going to be the next gen stuff and all of that. We'll see. In the end, it's like, do you have great games? Is Halo going to be really good? What am I going to be playing on here? And at this point, actually, the thing is that fucking Game Pass is it's still going to be awesome because whenever we talk about a game and I hear it's on Game Pass, it's like a little angel smiles, right? It's like, oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love hearing. But... Well, I love being able to test stuff out. That is on Game 100%. Pass.
Yeah.
I also think it is definitely making me as someone who, for the most part, will opt for the PC version of a game first, depending. And I think you're kind of the same way, right, Vinny?
Yeah.
That it gives me just kind of like a different set of, a different look at do I even need to buy one of these? And I think right now the answer is no, I don't. But
yeah. Well, I'll say as someone who is more of a I want to play on my couch than I want to play on my PC person, I have a decent PC and everything, but I grew up a console gamer. I will die a console gamer. And I just, I want to use my TV and I want to use my couch. And even I, someone who should be the most absolutely on these consoles no matter what, which I will be because of my job. But if it wasn't for my job at this point, I'm not convinced at all. There's nothing remarkably convincing about this hardware and the lineups that they have shown thus far that say I need to run right out and buy one of these at launch.
I mean, as someone who is new to this industry, I think this will be my first major console launch within the industry. I don't think I've ever had a console where I was like, I got to get this day one. Maybe the Nintendo DS, I think was one of the few that I did that for. But I feel like for everything else, there's always an expectation of I'm going to wait a year until I buy this console anyway, because there's not going to be enough games. My current console is fine. It will probably be released. The games will be released on both. I feel like there's always that transitional period anyway. So
that's what the smart gamer does.
That's right.
The smart approach.
That's the smart consumer.
Gamer. I am a dumbass, and I like buying hardware when it's new. Again, not just because of my profession, but because it's new exciting shit. I like new exciting shit. I'm just not excited. And some of that, I think, is owed to the current situation and the fact that they are limited in how they can present this stuff, how they can lay it out for people, where they can get press together and actually, show them the nitty gritty of this stuff. It's been limited. I get it. And, that is definitely hindering things a little bit. But just neither of them, I feel has made the case yet. The case for jumping on this hardware right out of the gate It just has not been made by either company.
And we'll see where the prices land, hopefully in a couple of months here. And so we'll get more stuff on Microsoft in the coming months. It sounds like in the summer, around July, we'll get that first party stuff, which I'm curious to see what they're going to do there. And I guarantee Sony will have some responses to this, and we're not the only ones who are thinking, what is Sony up to with all of this? Mm-hmm. So the people want to know.